guys, Hannah here, and welcome to today's mini Zentangle session. Today is week 7, day 6, and today's session is all about tags. So the materials I've got together today are our usual black micron pen or a black biro, a black pencil, a tortillon, and if you haven't got one, an earbud. But the extra bits that I've got today are some tags that I've made. So starting from the left, I've cut some circular tags which measure 4.5 inches across, and that's 11.5 centimetres across. And I've just punched a hole out of the top. These are gift tags that I've made, which are 6 centimetres wide, or 2.5 inches, and then long they're 10.5 or just over 4 inches, but I'll put the measurements in the descriptions. These circular ones are 3 inches in diameter, which is 7.5, and then I've made some slightly smaller ones, which are 5.5 centimetres or 2 2/8 of an inch, and 9.5 centimetres, and that's just under 4 inches. So it's entirely up to you whether you want to make your own or whether you happen to have some to hand. Now I've used some of this string to attach in the top, and I've got some, I don't know, sort of like brownie beige and some black, and I've just cut it to length. But those of you that you've already got some pre-made, I've got some that I use for my other crafts, and they're not too dissimilar. I've got some white ones again that already come with those string bits at the top, and I've got some brown craft card ones as well. So it's up to you if you want to make your own or you want to use some from the stash that you've got. But if you'd like to get your materials ready and settle comfortably, we'll begin. So before we start doing the tag using some of the patterns we've learnt this week, I'm going to show you some of the examples that I've made. This one I've done, which is ING, ING, and I have to say I really like that one. I've done it on a white background, and I've used a gold jelly roll pen around the outside. This one was Paradox that we learned earlier in the week, and this required a little bit of concentration, I can tell you. This one was the one that made me giggle because it just reminded me of noses, but I really like the way that I've been able to use a black, a brown and a white pen on that tag. This one was one that I didn't really have an idea as to where it was going to go when I first started it at the bottom, but I quite like it. And then here I've done a circular one, which I've used this tangle here, but I've done it in a different way. And then round the outside I've used this one. And then the final two, I've done both of them. They're both circular. And as you can imagine, this one did take me an awful long time, but I do think it's lovely. And this is one that measures 11.5 centimetres or 4.5 inches. And I've chosen to use the same pattern throughout, and then I've decorated in black and then used some white pen and some white pencil. And this one here, I'm going to use this as the pattern I show you today around a circular tile, and then I've done the Toodles pattern, which is the nose shaped one in the centre, and I really quite like the way that they've both turned out. So what I've done on this one here is I've just drawn very lightly in pencil a circle just to give me an idea of where I want to go, and I'm using my pencil just so that I can get a rough idea of where I want my zigzags. Those of you that feel confident, please start off in pen. Excuse me. As you can hear, I still haven't got my voice back yet. Right, and this is the reason why I've started off in pencil, because I need to make sure that they fit, and I'm not worrying too much about that. But had I drawn that in pen to start off with, it might not have finished well at all. Okay, so I'm just going over these now with a black, and I'm using the 01 micron pen, and I'm just finishing my zigzag, although normally, as I say every video I do, if I was doing this I would be doing it much slower. I'm only going at this speed so that we can get through the video for you. Right, so that's where we're going to start. Now, this pattern is one that is particularly complex when you're drawing it from top to bottom. So this does require a little bit of concentration, and that's one of the reasons why I've put the hole in, because I want to know where my start point is. So I'm going to use this as my start and my end point, and starting from here I'm just drawing down to the center of the one below, and this is the part where it reminded me a bit like the side angle of a cliff. And I'm going to continue going round, and it doesn't matter that we're going upside down as long as we use that starting point. Okay, so I've done the first row now, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go round the other way. So from that point there, and then when I've done this round, I will go and do the outside one, because otherwise it will get a little bit complicated. Okay, so we're back to our start point. So now I'm going to draw the other side, and we're doing from the top to the middle. Although when I'm drawing on the left hand side, I sometimes find it easier to draw from the middle to the point. Oh, sliding around all over the place here. And again, I'm remembering that this is my starting and end point. So what I need to do now is go the other way round. I'm finishing from that peak, that there, I'm going to the center of there. Now I know we don't use erasers in the Zentangle method, but because I've drawn this circle in pencil to start off with, I probably would go back and I would rub that out. Those of you that aren't too bothered, maybe because you've drawn on a darker tile like I have, it might not be as noticeable. And now all you need to do is decorate the inside parts. So you've got clear sections, and I'm going to bring this one back in now. The reason for bringing it in is, as you can see, I've done 3 different tangles. So I've chosen the big tangle, the big triangle, which would be this one here, and this one here, and this one here. I've chosen to do one of the tangles that we did very, very early on in the first week. And then the second one, which would be these side ones here, so one either side, I've just coloured a solid black. And then the third one, which is going to be this one here directly underneath the big one, I've done the pattern that we learned this week that looks a bit like that. And then in the centre I've just drawn my my nose shape, so just to give you an idea of how I would draw it to be a focal point. So that's how I would place it, and then I would just go back. And when you're drawing on a dark tile, leaving these gaps here, it makes it perfect to use with a white pen over the top. And I want to just show you some examples of ones that I've done. So in the UK it's Father's Day next month, so I decided, because I couldn't get out to do shopping, that I'd make my dad something a bit special. And I've used the Tangle that we learnt this week, which is this one here, and I've drawn that around the outside, and then I've just used some ink and I've inked up the edges, and I've decorated inside each of them. And then inside the card I've made, it's very different from what I would normally make, but as you can see, it's a Father's Day card, but I've made a little pouch to fit this, and then I've made a tag with the word Dad in it. And I have to say, well, I love it. I'm just hoping that he loves it as well. And again, self-made envelope just to fit it so that it sits and seals like that. And not wanting to leave my mum out, I decided that I would make her just something similar, although I've just made a little pouch for her. And then on the inside, I've done a tag that says Mum. And I do think it's important, while we're going through these periods of isolation, to think of our friends and family and those that are close to us, and just do something nice for them, just to let them know that we are thinking of them. Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's session, and I look forward to showing you some more tangles next week. And please feel free to send me any questions or comments and your finished tiles and tags and tangles. Thanks for joining me. Bye for now.